Hello, hello. Humanity, species, nature, volume is our subject. Where it is nature is value, the body of value. Physical is the species identity of value. Humanity is its identity of value. Our body of value is nature, bigger than and lesser than in relationship to the identity of nature they are together, which is nature's complete nature and its complete nature relationship to itself and the value of that. And that's the Trinity. It's one identity of value progression as the identity of forever nature, that is the part of it, that is its identity of relationship to itself. Is its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. And science can discern this. But it's a method that also requires discerning how they reveal. We need a different, not prayer like it's been said. It's very it's a nature of honesty to it with a finite. See, we have the branches of government preventing people from finite speech while because they have already been lying about that finite into databases into branch. They've been pretending things faked, recorded, and other nations have been doing the same thing. And then they have disputes about that are what are called peaceful disputes, through the only means in relationship to the Trade Center Agreement. And see, that is maintained, used for recorded, maintained, exploited. All that is manifest with that, like lie progressions from each standing database relationship group. Now, see, we have a whole bunch of people with a Scalora family that is recorded and confessed as one of the extended family members by a person that also has an extended family member by the and lives near me, but also has an extended family member named Phil Cololo, involved with these people with agencies in their family through everyone what they record and say. See, they've been using the right to lie too criminally. Now there are people with forensics locations and stuff like this, and there's like a mile and a half from me. There's a school that I went to, but there was a principal sex offender. But there were more worse than him that they recorded torture him and other people to say nothing, using other methods and natures of torture, motivations, and juxtaposed with other ones like their money and things like that. They're recorded using pretending that they can't be read through because they have sequence shifts that reveal this. They're racketeering uses of the databases of each branch of government. Now I barely know him. That's how part of the way he confessed. This is an Eric Jensen and others recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with like Middlesex Community College with state police, interstate though. And now these are people also associated with racketeering with private schools and intercity schools where they connect people to roles with illusions tied to their racketeering uses of the databases with the schools and with sequence phenomena tied to exploitation. Now, this isn't science either. Well, this is part of juxtaposed theory, but showing that we have standing scientific consensus with theory, scientific incapable of defending itself and standing, all that is immediately discernible to each age of fact sheet nature using correlation simultaneously with sequence true, inherent, active, and progressive means, which are beyond that further too at the same time. I just remind. So I was just Ptolemy's name. Who is this is now? This is related to in the order of the mind per logic with no criminal foreign influence, physical delusion. We have logic. We have judges in courts involved with crime methods that they're preventing mandated law to be followed. Now that becomes instantly a simultaneous nature of evidence. They're lying about what is recorded over their phone. They're lying with identity of the ground positions. They already have recorded criminal foreign influence uses of readings of statutes in relationship to the sequence shifts, and the fabrications, falsified police reports that also show methods where they mix a whole bunch of different cities' police forms because they already use the identity of the ground. So they have to hide life progressions, and they have to hurt people they don't even know for motivations that everyone misses, especially not just with their standing identity of the ground locations uses, with a whole bunch of within has a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures of child abuses and of each age simultaneously, originally and still. What motivates that, for example, that is juxtaposed, but not the complete motivations down to the finite. I forgot what it is. Should have. So this is important because Ptolemy, people tell Omega. See, even if I spell it wrong, people's people's Omega tell Pot Omega's longing mother why. Now, even if I spelled that wrong, what that word says like that, the way English was revealed by the ancients properly. People's Omega tells. See, now Omega tells differently and simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly too. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. Tells for and as the same nature that is greater than the temporary differences, temporary / lasting differences of physical, alpha and omega, and yin yang. See, but yin, where there is yin, there is always yang. This is how the ancients would teach this most demonstrably. If you watch on YouTube, uh, I'll show you how they preserved it. See, but all the sciences have recorded self-value worse than just obfuscation, self-value of how they revealed English. The entire species, nature of volume working together before human relations became criminally foreign influenced. First, they took a method to keep human identity criminally foreign influenced. And that's self-value by making victim predators of what came halfway through semi-ancient times, where they would have realized means to evolution's fruits and gifts, and the concentration of our value here as an identity of relationship to the identity of value progression, perfect, that reveals concentrated evolution's fruits and gifts out of nowhere means. This is where we are fact sheet nature as value, and where value is nature and nature is value is simultaneously and sequentially. Down to the final, even the smallest thing has 2 points of real possession on both sides of it. And the value of that is another semi-nature, which is discernible as the value of that to itself, which is an identity of value progression that forces length of high Ds. Now, because since semi-ancient times, we're in value nature systems, identity of the ground relationships, self-value. And when it's not self-value, it's blamed on other things, others themselves, wrongly. And or people are just lying about what the quality of what and the substance of what people say, because they invested the identities of each branch as misprising each identity individually grouped it together, all associated with them and their family members. Victims, self-valuing roles with all that too. Identity grounds, all of them, originally and still, used to divide, worse than just to divide Native Americans, worse than just to conquer them. Not just Native Americans, it's nations A through Z, starting in midway, semi-ancient times. This just reminds. So they couldn't, they were built, for example, incapable of defending their takes on ancient history, their takes on modern history. So when we come to the name Ptolemy, this is what people is omega. Individual, people is more yang, more yin. I haven't checked yet. I would say it's more yin. And I wouldn't say they're wrong just because I say that, because I would have to contemplate it. But I know one thing. This, in other words, in relationship to alpha and omega. In other words, alpha and omega. So forget that part. This is live. I'm sorry. This is about people is omega because it's not individual. Individual is alpha, which is this is about not the physical. Yin. So the physical male is yang. The physical or is alpha. But the physical, because this is where the physical is in relationship to the shared nature, where we have metaphysical and we have identity hierarchical to that too, which is why you need to understand the difference between being a body as value and being as a species, as a body of value, and a humanity as nature as value. Because what is simultaneous to this is what is only increasing, and that not only is increasing, as it is temporary, it is the phenomenon of five semi-natures that will only stay positive to one. There will only stay one nature of reaction to itself, and the value of that even further. This is how it is making more forever nature the identity of volume, one identity of value progression is. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, inherently, actively, and progressively. So we can see how it is this trinity, distinctly and non-distinctly, as two natures as semi-natures two ways, which is five ways and three ways. It is five, while it is how it is a trinity as five ways, which also shows another six as another nature of invisible but discernible. For example, English was revealed to teach about the invisible but discernible. And how you see this. This identity is bigger than right to left will ever be, even if you extend the identity of the four directions to encompass all identities of value progression individually grouped in together. In fact, we are supposed to be, there science reveals that these are three natures of volume. This is why there are sexes grouped, forced, locked. Now, even if someone changes their sex, it's still grouped. You're still an age. You're still an area. See, those groups and what they call opinions and the truth of free speech, they're using that truth to lie, and they have been using that for other natures of racketeering because there are defenses of that and then uses of that. And the engineering by that, which was using it through, since not only Native Americans A through Z, our founders. Was witch trials real or made up for their treatments of it, especially if it was made up? It shows that they had to blame the real causes of predicate acts, the real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on groups wrong. That's what they put those crazy laws with color for in the North and in the South. That's what they put Nave treatments of it here and there, fake sides. Trinity has negative value nature. All alternatives are inclusion. Keep sophistication not. This is only capable of reading the Quran and the Old Testament out of sequence. Talking what it's talking about out of sequence. Not can't stand anyone using all that is connected to the first part of the Old Testament and the first part of the Quran about science, about what is true always. See, then this is where we're led by what is true always, as exceptions in exception nature also demonstrating the same thing. How could it be the same thing? Because this is tied to everything. And so where this is the invisible but discernible, the subject and the predicate value. Every time they bring up a subject and theme, they make people make opinions. Not just their opinions, but not just their defenses of it. That's that, not just for the reasons that are apparent. That this is an infrastructure that is this is an identity of captivity that American history is really about. That we're supposed to reveal free speech, especially with online. It's recorded clear as day. Juxtaposed natures of abuses of each phase of fact treatment down nature, finite, even sexual, even medical, on and off CCSU, connected to intercities child campuses, with people with UConn already through time, with people with. There's a man in the news they keep speaking about, Paul Manafort. There's a Paul Manafort Drive, on and off Paul Manafort Drive, and CNN sources are recorded and involve a whole bunch of people with a Scalora family. Actually, literally thousands of people tied to a house /S in my area, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them, facilitated having been used by courts and by the executive branch and by the political figures, distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously, already invested, they can't stand reality. So they've been lying about me with people I don't know. So there's no means to counter. The Wethersfield police have been forging names, switching names with state police. These are people that are involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of federal criminals, of co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Now, that was proven in other cases. But then leading up to a 2006 case, they've been their roles with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering acts and whole methods recorded, and actually recorded natures that prevented those courts' roles with other courts and with their police and with the families of them involved with racketeering, where they pretend to be investigating stuff, pretend to be studying things, and pretend to be vetting simultaneously in collusion with courts and with police that are totally just making things up, putting me into a fake quotations with a police officer named Eric Mendez. Or not, no, his older brother. I don't know his older brother's name. I never had one conversation with him in my life. But the name of police equipment, put me in quotes. He's one of the resource officers involved with them, also retired and standing, with also retired and standing prosecutors and judges that long had their families involved with the same house /S, with the same. Now, this is nothing personal. They pretend passions and emotions. When I asked to respond to their recorded having been used, they used the New Britain Superior Court Facebook page since before with a principal sex offender. They used Governor Malloy in a town meeting with the PTO and the town meeting people and the Wethersfield police chief's daughter with the school. And see, they're using the sensibilities of women that were abused when they were kids by these methods with women leaders, women judges, roles with falsified police reports in all different contexts, even with a whole bunch of different towns for the same falsified, all these different, a whole bunch of people. Then they forge names and switch names in conjunction with these tortures too, no, preventing free speech. Since before they used legislation with torture, that in the Department of Homeland Security identity of the ground locations next to it, whole bunch of people, all that worse than war crimes. We have too many nations at once. They fight about things where they're peaceful, and then how much time is in a day? There are more nations than there are in a day. They're all the same suit and tie nays. They all kept recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, the same finite lies, active, progressive, and identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, and worse than just murder too, and real or made up. The reported convicted serial killer in that location is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with DACA, with racketeering against the nations that hold it, in conjunction with their uses of opinion natures, where everyone's having been and being used as styles of liars pretending they're about positive. There are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated uses of actors, a whole bunch of ways how the directors are involved with also intermilitary fluent, criminally foreign influenced originally and still. Now see, because they're also preventing mandated law, criminal readings of statutes. I'm not even a lawyer. The sequence shifts and their evidence racketeering methods and actually recording natures reveal this. See criminal insidiousness. And this is where nature is value and value is nature simultaneously, distinctly, and I'm distinctly out to 5 semi-natures. So I'm being prevented free speech, being prevented science, being prevented a means to work, worse than extortion. These are serious, serious crimes and medical. So I'll do this for you because these are already all the courts and on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices with a whole bunch of families with identity of the ground, lipoaggressions. They stand there so they can pretend to record things in conjunction with them stacking of overtly fake things recorded into databases. There's a person that they said has the name Bayrock, also involved with this. I don't know the other guy's name. These are people that worked for AT&T involved with racketeering uses of New Haven's FBI. Tons of them. Tons of them. Now it's executive branch. I wouldn't talk like that to the judicial branch. Your honors, you guys are preventing mandated law though. And even on Facebook, you guys lied interbranch with Facebook. And when you have this Scalora family, and you have officers forging and switching names, so I don't know who's the one. He broke into my door. And I never had a conversation. I want to know what he said. If he said I did, because he also turned off his thing. It looked like he turned off his thing. And he told me, don't mess with Scalora. Now, this is a person that pretended to know me in the past to people's perception. Pretended me to fake locations. To one time in Glastonbury High School, and one time in a place around the corner from a route that goes by the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices. Also with the Fienza family, with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic men and women involved, also with DACA racketeering. And with the Dillon family involved with my new and past neighbors, with them also with name racketeering. And now these are people with crimes with judges where they lied about their identity of the ground sequence. And they're involved with confessions to me about and demonstrations to me of their roles with the abuses of little boys and girls. Not just what was proven, especially if they made that up, which I wouldn't say they made up. I know they made up parts with it because they had to hide what they were doing worse than him. What they put reportedly a principal sex offender with taking up who got caught off campuses anyway. They hid what I tried to report, which is other stuff, tied untimely deaths, on off Trinity College. Now there are people with a Walters family. Also, he has a mother of Chris Walters involved with various natures of racketeering with AT&T and with prosecutors and people on off Hang Dog Lane and 2 Hour Highway, and on off all the rules as possible, but associated with racketeering with a whole with a whole bunch of natures of it with the kids. And with the confessions with that they're lying about, and they've been using Facebook pages interbranch and into campuses as the people pretending to be against positive and negative. They've been lying about positive and negative again because they're involved with identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering originally and still. That's how we have sick, basic. We have recorded unnatural motivations and justifications, a pathology of logic racketeering that everyone was forced like a virus. So I'm not a doctor, but I'll delineate the delusions from the criminally foreign influenced premises treatments juxtaposed, recorded, standing of them all, and regarding logic, regarding sequence nature, because this may be an expert on this. This is not just intercities. They're kept needing to hide live aggressions and recorded, actually, whole methods recorded. Mail crimes, wire crimes. Now, whole careers were invested with these agencies. That's why they say, if you watch CNN stuff, they're charged. The agency. It's because they have disputes where they're pretending who has integrity, who doesn't, and they're fake sides. What is fluent through that originally still is just engineering defenses of their database involved evidence racketeering, but it's exploiting our nature of volume. It's exploiting treatments of positive, and that by getting everyone to value the sequence racketeering. Every single person is a sequence nature, as its nature, as a complete nature, where it has and how it counts. No matter who you are, you want clean water. It's not just a basic thing, down to the finite, not just that. This leads all things, it's the answer. /S. This generates plurality to make one identity of forever nature, which is 3 natures of volume, inherent, active, and progressive. So Earth is demonstrably, most probably closest to the greatest amount of inherent forever nature as this identity of volume that has 2 other portions of its identity of value progression. And that is what was the might and the power simultaneously beyond that made space and existence 2 distinct but non-distinct shared identities. And beyond that further, for example, not just as a trinity further where they share an identity, but as that complete nature of volume, where its complete identity just is that. It is that trinity, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that to all parts of itself distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. So lethal IDs is force-based nature transfer because of our identity of relationship to it. And this is tied to the ground. All gather around. The ground has a tie to our quality of fact keeping nature as a nature of volume. That's why it's so important, for example, to understand criminal and seditious natures of positive treatments. Since founding drums, fake sides, north and south, fake tilt, fake tops and bottoms, because the North, George Washington had to leave in Wethersfield, Connecticut, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. Even with the French general's help, he could only semi-counter or extort, and had to leave entrenched. What was involved with slavery of everyone, but with North black still part of the slavery. That was since before our founders were born. There's a sick, worse than racketeering method, worse than war crimes, simple racketeering method entrenched here. Now, what it uses is self-value. What this is really what most furthered and furthers the overt criminal enterprises because of the nature of racketeering. That's all invisible but still discernible. Courts faking, writing, knaves when they're not. Originally, still, all you have to do is look at these the pathology since before cars, the denatured relationship to the ground that science reveals causes negative value nature regressions. That's why the ground less than our value has a differential though in relationship to our quality of factory nature. Subject verb, subject predicate, two natures of volume increasing, positive or negative, with the subject, with the sentence, positive or negative to itself, which is this self, which is the simultaneous nature. It's what positive is about. They know about the racketeering, the boxing. Racketeering is organized crime. So this is worse than war crimes, but this is worse. A simple racketeering method. But it juxtaposed all these other motivations. So it forced everyone to play life with all those crazy laws. If anyone was found, I learned at CCSU. I forgot the name of the professor. If anyone had been found out to have been speaking about building infrastructure outside of contexts that were monitored by international agencies, they would kill them, torture, hurt those people and their family. They'll make an example of them, worse than witch trials. And no, everyone has to just keep going along with life. Now, positive treatments, not only doing that as criminal seriousness nature is forced, but forced only capable of blaming it, all that it caused and causes on other things, others themselves. Only capable of self-valuing that, defended. Whereas now accounts were fact cheap in nature. No one was watching. Native Americans, they blame themselves, other things, others for what did this because they didn't have time. In other words, this is a method, another natures of motivations, another natures of methods for the same simple methods like extortion, identity theft. The Trinity is aware their child abuse racketeering is demonstrably clocked in cables of 3 layers. See, there's a Farmington Avenue with a Harriet Beecher Stowe house and the Mark Twain house. Now they're involved with racketeering that is on off campuses with agencies. Down the street from there is a Robert Cheverie, who was a lawyer in a 2006 case of a Robert Luskin. Robert Luskin used to be the standing chairperson on Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, which is an organized crime statute. Now, see, encompassed in this are things like our acts described like predicate acts that are in association with these natures. See, these are the subject here are natures, a bunch of natures of racketeering juxtaposed, but by the one that is the subject here. So they all stay the subject. But this one with the interbranch uses of their Facebook pages and uses of the Facebook page. There's a Joshua Julian also recorded with the judge's crimes with the Facebook page, also with Wethersfield Police, also tied to a house in my area that is in my grade and hung around with him and with people that I never hung around with. They're involved with identity thefts, and he hung around with their cousins also, like a Sclorfa. Now these are people also with the World Trade Center involved with racketeering leading up to that in the context interstate from Connecticut. This is Wethersfield, Connecticut. See, they have been criminally preventing writing because they've been stacking databases with falsified police reports, switching human trafficking acts, interbranch, individually grouped together, crime methods, not only doing that by hiding it, not only having hid it, but that was what was used. That's how this was sophistication here before they were. So we have a bunch of fake sophistication natures interbranch, and they have recorded a whole bunch of foreign and domestic nations involved with them. on and off Connecticut media locations, on and off the campus's training of such. Everyone speaking through others and respecting titles and stuff blindly because they don't even, everyone's speaking through others and they're using that criminally to keep each age of correlation nature from, um, this is how, since before digital definitions of remote, they used remote. That's what all those crazy laws were about with color. What is slavery about? See, no one ever told them because they don't teach about how it was used to keep everyone used remote, sick, evil, victim predators. So they also use this tactical pseudo education. So now when I speak, like on Facebook, I try to tell people, I need to get to counter the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court. Now, before they were involved with those crimes with the proven principal sex offender, which also there's more that was recorded that were missed with other ones at the time, tied to the ones that were on and off the campus at the time. Also, the resource officers, fake recorded things. Their families were involved with that, with the past, with the databases used criminally by the interbranch and military, foreign and domestic, on and off CCSU, involved with the other campuses in university. They have agents in Wethersfield too. Yeah, so CCSU has a CCSU Paul Manafort Drive in New Britain, Connecticut. There's a road there that goes straight into Wethersfield. All along that road are people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with it. We're already through the careers of those agents. I don't know all their names yet. I know former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people tied to them, with racketeering with various natures of courts and their police forms and prosecutors leading up to the 2006 case and then leading up to the Trade Center attack and then in it. And with extortions and tortures of me not to say anything about it. And I tried to say about it in a straight line. And rather than letting me say anything, they used the time to prevent me from saying a word, to make confessions and stuff like that, talk about themselves personally. And then so we have that also with names forging and switching, whole fake categorical conversations. So they've been using medical databases to exploit anomaly. That's why it's important. Also, they have like a men and women attach me to fake yelling. I did yell in a context because of also 3 times Hartford Hospital. In other words, they forced me for mental evaluation, and beginning with this time with this Leahy family, I never had a conversation with them. They faked whole categorical conversations. Now these were people also before that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with my new and past neighbors with the Dillon family, and know that these are people also reported, confessed, and demonstrated and stated on off Two-Rod Highway, on off Hangdog Lane, further involved then and now with more of the principal people involved with sexual and with other natures of racketeering juxtaposed against the kid. We have women judges involved with this too. People on off the state judicial branch offices also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with it. People with AT&T on off Two-Rod Highway, also Fianza family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with the courts. So because they had to hide lie progressions tied to their roles with things like DACA and the corner there. They have a Zano's, like I think it's called Battison's Dry Cleaners. I don't know. It's all along that route through cities. Now they have people in Cromwell also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with courts, but they have undercover positions that are actually involved with racketeering because they need to hide lie progressions because they already had been using the databases of the branches to stack human trafficking acts, illusions that are racketeering influence. They're pretending they're doing it because they have value disputes. They have foreign and domestic military also recorded and confessed. A whole bunch of different military family members recorded, confessed, and demonstrated associated with locations, like with apartments and stuff near CCSU, tied to a juxtapaosed. People associated with each of the departments of the sciences, because the sciences share an identity that a racketeering method had everyone originally exploit to have everyone blame other things other than themselves for what it keeps nature demonstrating with negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So the courts use racketeering methods distinctly and non-distinctly from the other branches of government. So, and I mean individually grouped and together. So we have to counter what is grouped. The political politics are nonsense, but we have to counter what is grouped where they're forging names and switching names and falsified police report, preventing people from speech, distinctly and non-distinctly grouped. Not the same way. The courts are pretending they don't realize, but they make confessions also, and they use the time to let other people just stick write things into the databases. Former director of the FBI down, other CIA, their family members. Now these are people leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context after they had already been involved with Justice Department racketeering and identity of the ground locations, intercity and online. John Bean at High Chris is involved. Says a Chris. I don't. A Chris says that there's a Chris Walters, and he has a bunch of people that he's recorded confessed. He sought me out like a few like I know him like a handful of times in life, always seeking me out to make confessions because he's one of the private school kids that lived on a western side of a high school near me, which I didn't hang around with him near there either. But he's involved with the human trafficking with judges and with police forms and with people along routes and on and off Two Rod Highway where it goes into Hangdog Lane. Two Rod Highway. Yeah, and Hangdog Lane. And that's also touching the Two Rod Highway is also touching Berlin Turnpike. At the end of the Berlin Turnpike, there's a Scalora family. I mean, there's a Scalora family, also ones with identity thefts and frauds with judges and with police, distinctly and non-distinctly. They're also recorded, confessed, involved with CIA, with stealing people's identities, sequence shifts, roles with mail crime, wire crimes, roles with a family with a Phil Colo, further recorded and confessed by people tied to New Britain Superior Court, involved with more worse than the principal child offender. Then and now they hit his confessions, his doctors, and those courts were involved with racketeering leading up to the Trade Center attack context, intercities. Other military police ones, I don't, and Hartford courts are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by an Eric Burgess and by people associated with Justin Klavinskis and his wife, who I never had a class with, and she's also reported involved with database racketeering with that when I was a kid, identity thefts, frauds, and people along Walker Hill with them and around Samuel Dick's house they're also recorded confessed them they're ducking behind something associated with that, where they have those people involved with wire crimes, mail crimes, and a crime method where they have fake sides of correlation nature, which is a trinity. And they have how the trinity is also five semi-natures as a trinity, distinctly and non-distinctly. So it's invisible, but it's still discernible. Now, see, if I talk about something like this right here, then they value what they already attached me to fake conversations. They already influenced people around me because they have people in sustained ways involved with these are a whole bunch of like Thaddeus Grabowski is one of the people, and two Domain brothers are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with these two Mendez police with on off Fox Connecticut News racketeering and with a Club Blue. And now these are people racketeering with other nations, with medical racketeering, like Russians there and here against Russians there and here, because we have Justice Department racketeering here, same way they have it there. And how that is maintained through criminal foreign influence is recorded too. But we have the identities of law that are using their identity ground locations to prevent mandated law. And they've been forging names and switching names into brands, switching names because they're preventing writing criminally too. They have online TV judges recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering too. Methods like that, entrapment. Pretend that they follow the rules. Pretend they provide writing while the whole time these people are sicker than most overt criminal enterprises, and recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, and progressive lives with the juxtaposed natures of overt criminal enterprises also were they were recorded having involved and used for their uses with all the recorded racketeering in my area, fire department uses of them. They know that's where actually recorded is. They're not just testing things and things like that. That's also recorded involved with the Russian families. And all along that route, there are two mobile gas stations. They sought me out to confess and demonstrate this. Record it, actually record it, which is these are the identity of the ground locations. Now that the on South State Highway. But see that road that goes right by it, that goes right towards New Britain. A little bit up the hill is the Samuel Dix house. That corner, and they have corners involved with criminal uses of them. Because now we're dealing with perception. This person's jogging. He's going to be coming down this thing in a sustained way. Weathersfield Police has a daughter, police chief. I never met her daughter. She's involved with her extended family member with a whole bunch of people with sequence racketeering against me. So identity thefts with people I barely know and maybe a little more, and then people not at all. Inclusion like a Joshua Julian. I don't know him. I know of him, and he was pretending other shifting with proven child sex offenders in a clique that had more involved with them than now, proven and further recorded than already. Now these are the people with their extended family members involved with the school resource officers, and with a Lombardo family also that are Chris Walters, a Chris. Now I also had never had anything to do with Chris Della Fera. Chris Della Fera, Mike Della Fera, and they have like two, three, four other brothers, a mother and sister. God knows. I mean, but they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrating involved with extended family members. They have probate judges, a bunch of probate judges, people associated with Dr. Shub of modern languages, with this also juxtaposed natures of racketeering. Worst of natures of election crimes originally and still, because their uses of Weathersfield town offices is also recorded and confessed involved with the Chris. And Chris, um, sorry, you said on here, you typed on here, John Bean is involved. What do you mean by that? Because there's an officer, Jerry Miller, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people that other also made the same confessions regarding a Kerr family, also further involved with Mendez police and the family of Ray Cololo, involved further with sexual and medical and drug abuses of the kids, enrolled with confessions from strangers regarding untimely deaths that brought such up and such connections. Also, that was on and off Trinity College with my new and past neighbors, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with this. And see everyone speaking through other people because they're using the sense and sensibilities of people, for example. They're exploiting how the identity, the science to share an identity. They're not letting free speech. They're using women to defend opinions using styles of logic that wouldn't be if they weren't lied to. They're using little boys and girls to do that. So they also hid actually recorded, or these are wire crimes where they were lying about and are lying that they're recorded being coaching the stewards of the schools. So now these are identity of database relationships that are in collusion with investigators and influencers into branch of campuses from off them and military. The uses of that to criminally to hide their roles with the ground originally still criminally foreign influence. So they keep live aggressions, maintain self-value. They maintain people. I don't know their names though. I need their names. So then if you try to describe it, it makes it sound like you know them. Makes you sound like you had a conversation with them and it never was. Tied also to the DACA racketeering. Everyone tied also to the recorded uses of undercover with recorded. This is where these are verbal fact cheating nature racketeering with the judicial branch, distinctly and non-distinctly from the verbal racketeering with the executive branch, and all private tied to them is recorded and involved with crime methods with juries and with cases already through time. So we need federal stewardships of Weathersfield, Connecticut. Chris, we have. Are you still online? Because you just said that you know more about this. And there are two Chris's. So you're freaking me out too because they put their names Chris. So I want to judge you. But they also have fake Facebook pages and fake YouTube pages to be pretending to be me and other people involved with Maine. And they have former Governor Malloy. I don't know you. Please respond for the male and female prosecutors recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with the daughter of my town's police chief and his foreign and domestic family and businesses next to their business in Hartford further involved with human trafficking and with some untimely deaths and with racketeering uses of on-off Paul Meriden and Fall Drive, where they pretend to where they pretend to perceive things worse than entrapment. See, we have the whole careers of people that their value. That's whether they value at the same time all the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures that are not their fault on people with the most exploited areas, blamed on other things other than themselves, blamed on others, dishonestly too, pretending motivations other too, maintenance to all those victims, blaming the wrong things too, not by accident. Humanity is in a maintained identity of negative value nature progression. So the Weathersfield PTO is also involved. They invested themselves spreading lies that are involved with the wire crimes and mail crimes. Now they want me to debate they want motivations and things like that debated. Like for example, with the Kerr family and with the Justice Levinskis also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering methods that are and have been using on-off religious spot locations with military racketeering. I don't know all the names of the people tied to them. There's a Daryl Chandler. I barely know him. He's recorded, confessed, demonstrated also with programs associated with and people associated with like where the DACA, where the Dakota places in Rocky Hill. We're a food bag on South State Highway involved with the intercampuses racketeering. Now, see, I don't know them, but they're pretending other. Everyone's speaking to other criminally. Now, I need to know the names of my new and past neighbor. And I can't get I can't get anything in writing. And they're sequence shifting. They need to pretend a whole bunch of things that they heard I raised my voice. They use that to attach me to fake conversation. They pretend I yelled it with people, a woman even at Hartford Hospital. She was recorded by herself in that context, involved with a whole bunch of people tied to a Dillon family, a former detective Dillon and his family, involved with judges and with military and his family. His son, Sean Dillon, reported. I never had a conversation with him either. I never had a conversation with Anna Dillon, and the spelling of Annie Dillon and Anna Dillon distinctly and not distinctly, and their roles with on off, with real estate racketeering, with child sex offender roles used with it. And there's women judges with roles with this because they prevent people from speaking after they induced problems that they also made up fake falsified police reports to prevent from being told on. And so they have all the resources of the schools also prevented so people can't get jobs like they said they were going to have them. They have each age of kids. See, the CCSU, when I was in grammar school, I didn't understand the confessions. I didn't know it was time. Because then they would they made those, they had to hide something. They made confessions about CCSU where they were hurting the positive treatments of the little girls who I don't even know. They was, oh, well, when you walk by us and we said that to you. They're not going to say that. They're going to say they know me. You see what I'm saying? In grammar school. Because this is now with a former Mayor Gold further involved with that same grammar school, further with child defenders. And see, they have everyone with little punk fact cheating natures on Facebook. They have the interbranch for stealing people, making fake Facebook pages. See, how you don't even know who it is. They're in collusion with it. That's recorded. Doesn't matter who it is. They can misspell the name. You don't know who did that though. It's already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. People went out. People when I was a kid recorded, confessed, demonstrated. Courts use people to make fake sides of fact achievements. Because as it unfolds, then they pretend they can solve things. And they've been using that to hide their life aggressions because they're standing life aggression cover-up natures. Sicker than most overt criminal enterprises. I mean, most ways. Sicker than them all. There are maintenance to that. Groups blamed on the real cause of predicate acts. So Chris Walters and people on off, a whole bunch of people tied to my neighbor are involved with human trafficking. And further with the principal sex offenders campus and with other campuses and with houses next to them in conjunction with various natures of drug racketeering with the agencies. Now, Chris Walters says he's involved with that with cocaine. And with his mother's involved with that also with AT&T wire crime methods, acts with them, privately and other. Now these are people with Justice Department, Washington, D.C. with his brothers. And his brothers' roles also with gay groups. And now this is also where you have to counter the judicial branch's roles where they have people with aggressions when they're preventing people from making free speech. And then they'll punish you for pretending hate speech. We have to call faggot a faggot with these child offenders. They're preventing this. So they're making people more and more like this or more rightfully and when usually wrong, most ways wrong. Overt aggression. So we have real fast means to release, needs for them now with fact-cheating nature without violence. So we have violence being forced by people pretending to be against bullying at the same time. We have a misprision racketeering where we have sickly criminal. Well, this is how everyone's a victim predator. Needing to make positive out of negative. As criminalization's nature is incapable of it where it has now accounts. Oh, so I need a response on paper. And I need to be promoted because they're keeping me out of the algorithm. These are people preventing me from jogging because of how they have the police racketeering and the sequence racketeering because they started this. since before the Trade Center attack. They're in a straight line of racketeering natures of it, juxtaposed, and that was what their motivations are. So their motivations are recorded. We have to talk about actually recorded reality here. We have people with them. These are people with conspiracy theories, with Russians, Americans. I don't know these other names. All these nations, they have justice departments with psychology where they force drugs into people, and they criminally break the rules and already broke them on how they do it. They fake conversations to do it. They pretend people yell in context we didn't yell because they can't take. That's what I'm going to show you about positive vaccine. You're going to reveal the science is sharing identity. Little rap guy and his friends, they're going to set up boxing because boxing is box, not a ring. Till they do, we'll debate this. So it's disturbing, Chris, that you mentioned that you know the way they know about the racketeering, and like making it like it's nothing. Make it like I'm making a theory. Make it look like a Sklar family isn't involved. I don't have nothing to do with the Sklar family. Pretend to know me. They're stuck. Now, these are people also intercities racketeering acts from the past that are now also with the Claudia Scalera recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with CCSU racketeering uses of CCNN and of the judges involved with them with crimes against Paul Manafort, with crimes against me, with crimes against little kids, as women roles with juxtaposed natures of child abuses. They have a crime method. They have a former mayor Gold is also with his daughter Debbie Gold. Long having been involved, she's involved with people. Also, a Chet Casper with the identity thefts. People involved with attaching me to fake locations, fake sequence shifts with this Gold family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering on and off media locations through time. Justice Department racketeering, with their roles with racketeering acts and with forensics clicks. And like with the transition from ACA to RICO, we had a whole bunch of foreign nations, American nations, overt criminal enterprises recorded with a pattern of racketeering that is still active on and off those locations, and their uses of the Facebook page stewards of the campuses to keep that also juxtaposed with the database racketeering with the regular database of the campuses. In other words, cover ups of it. Keep logic racketeering, positive treatments, time treatments, always too fast, too slow. Same way they keep the evil people with the elderly homes juxtaposed part of the roles with the child sex offenders. They have those natures of industries where they have to be evil. Forget the types, the food's coming out at this time. Oh, but that she's on the medications. That's how it be. Give me a response in writing. Weathersfield PTO. Give me a response so I don't have to start seeking you out name by name. Nothing personal. All I need is a response to New Britain Superior Courts. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering acts roles on and off CCSU leading up to the Trade Center and off and since it. On and off Trinity College leading up to the Trade Center and off it. Chris Walters also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated juxtaposed natures of racketeering uses of people associated with Trinity College. Also themselves recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering acts with them. They're using the identities of the ground locations. Everyone's speaking through other. They have the deans forging names, switching names. So I need a response in writing. They have everybody insulated here, and we need to have the mandated law follow where the courts have our roles with the criminal uses of each campuses through time. This since I was a kid too, distinctly, not distinctly, New Britain Superior Court involved with racketeering with people with the middle school, also further foreign and domestic medical families, racketeering uses of our kids on and off the middle school, also with his anal family and with extended families of theirs involved with the people with the few further human trafficking and forensics racketeering. With state police and their daughters also recorded how having been used to affect their racketeering acts roles, illusions, High, sick shit. I'll sit. Fake branches fall.